Welcome back, tennis family, to another explosive episode of Courtside Classic. I am your girl Mira, coming at you with the absolute juiciest, most dramatic, and downright jaw-dropping updates from the WTA Tour. Grab your match day snacks and buckle up, because if you thought the clay season was going to ease us in with some gentle rallies and predictable outcomes, you are dead wrong. Today, we are diving deep into a first-round draw that has sent shockwaves through the locker room, panic through a certain Canadians camp, and pure electricity through the hearts of tennis fans everywhere. Every single week, I try to tell you guys that the tour is wild right now. But this takes the cake. Because in the current run of form, Leylah Fernandez is about to face her absolute worst nightmare, and her name is Alex Eala. Let that sink in for a moment. Just let it simmer. We are talking about Leylah Fernandez, a player who has been desperately struggling to find her footing this year, a player searching frantically for consistency, a player who needs a confidence-boosting result on clay more than almost anything else in her career right now. She needed a soft landing. She needed a qualifier. She needed a match to help her find her rhythm. And what does the universe hand her? The draw hands her Alex Eala in the very first round of the Stuttgart Open 2026. If you ask me, this feels like a cruel joke by the tennis gods, but it is absolute box office gold for us viewers. Of all the players Leylah could have been handed, of all the names that could have popped out of that digital draw, it had to be this one. It had to be the one player on tour right now who is playing with the kind of red-hot, unshakable, ice-cold confidence that makes her a lethal threat to literally anyone she steps across the net from. There is absolutely no gentle introduction here for Fernandez. Forget about a warm-up match. Forget about easing back into competitive tennis on the European dirt. It is Eala, round one, center stage. And if Fernandez is not already feeling the suffocating pressure of that reality, she absolutely should be. Because let us be crystal clear about what Alex Eala has been doing this season. My friends, this is not hype anymore. This is not some cute story being built around potential and promise for a young rising star. This is hard, undeniable, terrifying reality. These are results. Eala has been walking out onto major tennis courts and dismantling players that the world told her she had no business beating. Look at what happened just a few weeks ago. She walked out against Coco Gauff, one of the most talented, celebrated, and dangerous top-tier players on the entire WTA Tour, and she did not just show up to participate. She handled the moment, she dictated the terms, and she forced Gauff into a corner until Coco had to retire down a break in the second set. She found a way through. She came out on the other side with a victory that sent genuine shockwaves across the entire tennis world. Honestly, I remember watching that match, and my jaw was literally on the floor. That is not a small thing. Beating Coco Gauff is a result that demands absolute attention and respect, and Eala delivered it with the kind of spooky composure that made people sit up and take notice in a very serious way. And then, as if that single statement win was not enough to put the tour on notice, she went out to the Middle East and defeated Jasmine Paolini as well. She took out the Italian powerhouse in an incredibly tense tiebreak. Two massive, significant, season-defining victories that have announced to every single player in the draw of every single tournament she enters, do not sleep on Alex Eala, because she will make you pay for it. The confidence that comes from wins like those is not something that evaporates when you switch hotels. It builds, it compounds, it travels with you into every match, every stadium, and every surface. And that, my friends, is exactly the buzzsaw that Leylah Fernandez is walking into in Stuttgart. Now, the European clay season has officially arrived, and if anyone in Leylah's camp was quietly hoping that the transition to a slower surface might take the edge off Eala's lethal momentum, that perhaps the change in conditions would force the Filipina star to reset, to find her feet again, or to lose even a fraction of the sharpness she had been carrying through the hard court season. Well, I hate to break it to them, but those hopes have already been violently put to rest. Because Eala showed up at the Linz Open just before this, and she made a statement on the dirt that nobody in the WTA world could afford to ignore. Let's talk about Linz, because this is where my personal opinion on Eala completely shifted from great prospect to absolute clay court menace. She stepped out against Julia Graber, the local Austrian favorite, the crowd's absolute darling, the player that the home fans were desperately banking on to deliver something special in front of her own supporters. The atmosphere was loud, it was hostile, and it was designed to rattle a young visiting player. But Eala had absolutely no interest in playing the role of the quiet visitor, who fades under the pressure of a partisan crowd. She came to Linz with a ruthless plan. She knew exactly what she wanted to do from the very first point. She executed that plan with terrifying precision and conviction. And even when Grabher pushed back, even when the local hero dug deep and tried to drag the match into the kind of scrappy, emotional, drawn-out battle that the crowd was desperately willing her into, Eala stayed completely on course. She was calm, she was commanding, she was utterly in control. From the very first game of that match, it was abundantly clear that Eala was not there to ease herself in gently to the clay. She took the early lead, set a bruising tone immediately, and even when Graber leveled things up and pushed it to 3 games all, Eala made a definitive decision at that exact moment. You could see it in her eyes. She decided she was going to take the match by the scruff of the neck. She was going to push through Graber's stubborn resistance and make it absolutely, unequivocally clear who the better player was on that day. And that is precisely what she did. She took that first set 6 games to 4. It was a statement set. It was a set won through pure quality, through raw grit, and through the kind of mental clarity that separates good players from great ones. The second set followed the exact same script, just with even more brutal conviction. Eala came out fast, won 3 games in quick succession, and put Grabher immediately on the back foot. And even when Grabher tried to mount a desperate fight back into the set, even when it looked for a brief, fleeting moment like she might force her way back into the match, Eala shut the door. Hard. She was not giving Grabher an inch of breathing room. She raised her level at the exact moment it was needed and closed out the second set 6 games to 3. Dominant, convincing, decisive. Now yes, Eala did not go on to win the entire tournament in Linz, but here is the crucial detail that every single Leylah Fernandez supporter needs to pay very close attention to right now. There was not a single moment in that match where Eala looked uncomfortable on the clay. Not one single moment. She moved beautifully. She slid into her shots like a seasoned veteran. She constructed points intelligently. She handled the slower conditions with the kind of natural ease that tells you her game translates magnificently to this surface. The clay season had barely begun, and already Alex Eala was looking like one of the most dangerous, unseeded floaters in any draw she enters. She arrived on clay this season looking like someone who absolutely belongs there, someone who is only going to get sharper, faster, and more precise with every single match she plays on the dirt. And Stuttgart is next. That is the exact player Leylah Fernandez has to uncomfortably walk out and face in the first round. Now, let us zoom out and talk about the bracket itself, because the path does not get any easier for whoever survives this bloodbath. The winner of this Eala Fernandez clash will take on either a hungry qualifier or the number 5 seed Jasmine Paolini in the second round. And we already know what Eala can do to Paolini. Plus, lurking just on the horizon in this section of the draw is Iga Swiatek. The world number 1, the absolute queen of clay, the number 3 seed for this event, gets a bye in the first round. The stakes could not be higher, and the road to the final is paved with absolute monsters. But let's refocus on this matchup, because what makes this so particularly uncomfortable for Fernandez is the sheer, glaring contrast in momentum between these two players. It honestly could not be more dramatic. On one side of the net, you have Eala, riding a massive, surging wave of confidence that has been building steadily all season long. She knows deeply in her bones that she can beat top players. She has already proven it against Goff. She has already proven it against Paolini. When she walks out onto the pristine indoor clay court in Stuttgart, she will not be carrying a single ounce of doubt. She will not be asking herself whether she belongs at this elite level. She already has the answer to that question. She found it earlier this season in the deserts of California and the Middle East, and she is carrying that answer with her into every single match she plays from here on out. On the other side of the net, you have Leylah, a Grand Slam finalist, a brilliant tactician, a fighter to her core, but a player who is currently lost in the wilderness. Leylah is desperately trying to get some confidence back. She is trying to remember what it feels like to string 3, 4, 5 wins together. That kind of confidence, the kind Eala has, is almost impossible to manufacture out of thin air. You cannot fake it. You cannot just talk yourself into it during a pep talk in the locker room. It has to come from real, tangible results. It has to come from performances, from the lived experience of winning the big, high-stress points in the massive moments when everything is on the line. Eala has all of that right now. She has it in absolute abundance. And here is the other terrifying thing about Alex Eala that makes her so particularly hard to play in a high-stakes first-round situation. She does not ease herself into tournaments. She does not take a set or two to find her feet or test the bounce of the court. She arrives already locked in. She is already operating at the exact level she needs to operate at, already making life a living hell for her opponents from the very first point of the warm-up. Julia Grabber found that out the hard way in Linz, and unfortunately for Canadian tennis fans, Leylah Fernandez is about to find it out in Stuttgart. So how do I see this blockbuster first-round match actually playing out? Let me break it down for you. Eala is trying to rack up massive clay court wins to boost her ranking, while Fernandez is simply trying to scrape some confidence back together. If you ask me, I am going to have to go with Eala in a close, brutal 3 sets. I genuinely reckon the Fernandez experience, her sheer will to win, her tricky lefty spins, and her defensive hustle is going to shine through enough to steal a set and make this an absolute dogfight. Leylah is too proud to roll over, but Eala is just so confident right now. Her ball striking is too pure, her movement is too crisp, and her belief is too high. In the crucial moments of a deciding 3rd set, when the lungs are burning and the legs are heavy, that untouchable confidence is going to be the deciding factor. So I am officially putting it on the record. I am going with Alex Eala in 3 thrilling sets. The bottom line is this, guys. Leylah Fernandez desperately needed a kind draw in Stuttgart. She needed a soft match that would allow her to build rhythm, to find some of that vintage Canadian magic, and to remind herself and the rest of the tour what she is truly capable of when her aggressive baseline game is clicking. Instead, the tennis gods laughed and handed her Alex Eala, a player who has beaten Goff and Paolini in the exact same season, a player who just walked onto the European clay for the first time this year and looked completely and utterly at home, a player who is carrying the form, the unwavering belief, and the terrifying momentum of someone who is absolutely not done making massive statements this season. The pressure in this first-round match sits almost entirely on Leylah Fernandez's shoulders. Think about it. Eala has absolutely nothing to fear here. She is the younger player. She is the rising star. She has everything to gain and no baggage weighing her down. And Fernandez? Fernandez has the impossible task of finding a way to stop a player who, right now, looks practically unstoppable. The Stuttgart Open first round just got a whole lot more interesting. And if you are a Leylah Fernandez fan, it just got a whole lot more nerve-wracking. You absolutely do not want to miss this one. But before we wrap things up here on Courtside Classic, I want to turn it over to the best tennis community on the internet. You guys. We want to hear from you. Do you think Leylah Fernandez has what it takes to dig deep, find her old Grand Slam form, and pull off a massive upset against Eala? Or is the Canadian simply walking into a nightmare draw that she cannot escape? Does Fernandez's extensive clay court experience give her a hidden edge? Or has Eala already proven in Linz that this slow surface is absolutely no problem for her heavy ground strokes? And if Eala does manage to get through this brutal first test, exactly how far do you see her going in the Stuttgart draw? Could she challenge for the title? Drop all of your predictions, hot takes, and opinions in the comments below, because I read every single one of them. Let us know exactly where you stand right now on this incredible rivalry in the making. And hey, if you love this deep dive and you want to stay up to date with all the absolute craziest drama, the most accurate match previews, and the spiciest hot takes the tennis world has to offer, you know exactly what to do. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Courtside Classic. Until next time, I'm Mira, reminding you to keep your serves fast, your drop shots tight, and your eyes on the ball. See you next time, guys.